Ford is doing more for Red Bull's Formula One engines than anyone originally expected. And this isn't about marketing. It isn't about logos on bodywork. It's about technology, direction, and a changing philosophy inside one of the world's biggest car manufacturers. As Red Bull prepares to fire up its first fully in-house power unit, Ford's role has quietly grown from a supporting partner into a deeply involved technical contributor. And the reason why tells a much bigger story about where Formula One is heading and where Ford sees its future on the road. Later this month, both Red Bull teams will get their first real taste of the new power unit developed by Red Bull Powertrains, with Ford alongside them. The initial winter test in Barcelona may be behind closed doors, but make no mistake, this is a critical milestone. For Red Bull, it's the moment where years of preparation move from theory to reality. For Ford, it's proof of whether a partnership that started cautiously has evolved into something far more significant. Ford Performance Director Mark Rushbrook has been clear about what this test represents. It will show whether the work carried out over the last 3 years has delivered a power unit capable of competing at the very front of Formula One. But what's most revealing is what Rushbrook admitted next. Ford's contribution today goes well beyond what was originally discussed. When the initial conversations began, at a time when Red Bull's program was still being led by Christian Horner, Ford's role was clearly defined and deliberately limited. The focus was on electrification, battery technology, the electric motor, the inverter, software, calibration. Financial backing was part of the picture, but technically, Ford's involvement was designed to sit firmly on the electrical side of the hybrid power unit. And at first, that made sense. Formula One's 2026 regulations place huge emphasis on electrical energy. The split between internal combustion and electric power moves to a 50-50 balance. Software becomes as important as hardware. Efficiency becomes king. Ford delivered exactly what it promised in those areas. But along the way, something changed. Not at Red Bull, at Ford. Ford's broader road car strategy began to evolve, and as that strategy changed, so did the relevance of Formula One to Ford's future. Originally, Ford didn't see combustion engine development as a priority within the F1 project. That part of the power unit was expected to remain firmly under Red Bull Powertrains control. But Ford's own product cycle forced a rethink. Rather than moving exclusively towards full electrification, Ford confirmed that its future would include a mix of internal combustion engines, full hybrids, and fully electric vehicles, depending on market and regional regulation. And that realization changed everything. If combustion engines were still going to be part of Ford's future, then the most advanced combustion engines in the world suddenly mattered again. And there is no laboratory more extreme than Formula One. As Ford engineers worked closely with Red Bull on the electric side of the power unit, they were exposed to what was happening on the combustion side. Conversations overlapped, problems were shared, ideas were exchanged. And gradually, Ford moved from observer to contributor. Rushbrook explained that Ford saw opportunities to help, not because Red Bull was lacking capability, but because collaboration naturally opens doors. When technical minds sit in the same room, solutions don't stay siloed. Ford began contributing to the combustion engine design, then to manufacturing processes, then to additive manufacturing, then to physical components. Today, many combustion engine parts for Red Bull's F1 power unit are being produced in Dearborn, Michigan, made daily, shipped daily. That's not symbolic involvement. That's operational integration. And that fundamentally changes the nature of the partnership. Ford isn't just funding Red Bull Powertrains. Ford is helping build the engine. Crucially, Rushbrook was careful to clarify one thing. This expansion of Ford's role does not mean Red Bull Powertrains was falling short. This wasn't a rescue operation. Red Bull had the capability, the facilities, the personnel. But when expertise overlaps, efficiency improves, and Ford's engineers brought decades of experience in combustion technology, manufacturing precision, quality control, and large-scale production discipline. When questions arose, Ford could answer them. When ideas surfaced, Ford could implement them. And in Formula One, marginal gains compound. So what does Formula One actually give Ford in return? According to Rushbrook, the benefits are tangible and growing. On the electrification side, Ford contributed heavily to battery cell chemistry, software, and calibration. But it wasn't a one-way exchange. Ford learned just as much as it gave. Formula One operates at the limit of energy efficiency. Thermal management, energy recovery, software optimization, calibration under extreme conditions. These are challenges Ford faces in its road car programs, just at a different scale. But the combustion engine side is where the surprise came. Design methodologies, additive manufacturing, dimensional control, quality assurance under microscopic tolerances. F1 pushed Ford's standards higher than previous motorsport programs ever had. Not just technologically, but culturally. Processes improved, expectations rose, engineers adapted. And that's exactly why Formula One remains relevant. This isn't nostalgia. It's not about noise or tradition. It's about innovation under pressure. Ford's continued production of combustion engines is directly tied to why Formula One still makes sense as a platform. While some manufacturers have gone all in on electrification, Ford has chosen flexibility. Different markets demand different solutions. Different regulations require different technologies. That makes Formula One's hybrid direction uniquely valuable. As discussions began in 2025 about what Formula One's engine formula might look like beyond the current cycle, those considerations became even more important. Ideas were floated, some bold, some controversial. FIA President Mohammed bin Sulayem initially raised the idea of a V10 revival. That proposal was later softened, with discussions shifting toward a V8 combined with electrification. For manufacturers like Ford, the key question wasn't the number of cylinders, it was relevance. Would future Formula One engines still align with real-world innovation? Rushbrook made Ford's position clear. As long as Formula One continues to feature a balance between combustion, hybrid, and electric technology, Ford is comfortable. Ford's future lineup includes all three, and that gives them flexibility at the negotiating table. They don't need Formula One to look one specific way. They need it to stay meaningful. And according to Rushbrook, the direction currently being discussed meets that requirement. Ford understands that motorsport always involves compromise, give and take, regulation and adaptation. And right now, Ford believes Formula One offers enough latitude to justify long-term involvement. Even when asked directly whether a V8 with electrification would be acceptable, the answer was simple. Yes. That answer matters because it confirms something important. Ford isn't treating Formula One as a short-term branding exercise. It's treating it as a technology partnership. And that's why its contribution to Red Bull's engines has grown. Not because the plan failed, but because the opportunity expanded. Red Bull, meanwhile, benefits from a partner that doesn't just bring money, but manufacturing depth, engineering rigor, and road car perspective. This partnership isn't about who leads and who follows, it's about convergence. Red Bull Powertrains brings Formula One specific knowledge. Ford brings industrial expertise and combustion heritage. Together, they're building something that neither could achieve alone. And that collaboration arrives at a critical moment. 2026 represents a full reset in Formula One. New rules, new power units, new competitive order. The teams that succeed won't just design fast cars, they'll execute better than everyone else. And in modern Formula One, execution extends beyond the race weekend. It starts years earlier, in factories, in manufacturing processes, in collaboration models. That's where Ford's expanded role could make the difference. Because while fans will judge Red Bull's new engine by lap times and results, the real work has already been happening, quietly, behind the scenes. Daily shipments, shared ideas, evolving strategies. Ford didn't plan to be this involved, but Formula One has a way of pulling manufacturers deeper once they realize what's possible. And now, as Red Bull prepares to unleash its first fully in-house power unit, Ford isn't standing on the sidelines. It's in the engine room. That's why Ford is contributing more than initially planned. And that's why this partnership could shape Formula One's next era.